Personality psychology is a field of study within psychology that focuses on understanding individual differences in patterns of thinking, feeling, and behavior. This discipline is concerned with analyzing personality traits, individual motivations, and how people interact with their surrounding environment. Various theories and tools, such as personality tests, are used to study how personality is formed and develops over time. Welcome back to another episode of Podcast Infinity. Today, we're tackling a fascinating question. What makes people so different from one another? Join us as we explore the theories that shed light on why we all have unique characteristics. Astrology theory. One of the earliest methods that humans tried to use to answer this question was astrology. The year is divided into 12 zodiac signs, and a person's personality is determined based on the month they were born in. For example, so-and-so was born in June. Oh, that means they're a Gemini, unpredictable, and they have schizophrenia. Although this method is very effective in initiating conversations, discussions, and introductions, it is somewhat simplistic and often inaccurate. This method is not scientific. But despite that, you will find many people who believe in it and follow it. If you go to someone and ask them why you are not like so-and-so, they will tell you, well, he is a Capricorn, and I am a Sagittarius. Unfortunately, despite its simplicity and attractiveness, astrology has no real connection, even remotely, to science. Fluids theory. Long ago, a wise Greek philosopher named Hippocrates, who is known as the father of medicine, had a different way of explaining our unique personalities. Instead of looking at the year or the stars, he focused on the human body. In the 3rd century BC, he came up with a theory that said our health and personalities are controlled by 4 important fluids: yellow bile, black bile, blood, and phlegm. Hippocrates believed that the proportions of these fluids in our bodies determined our differences in personality. So, if you asked him why people have different personalities, he might say, you seem impulsive and full of energy, which means you have too much yellow bile. But your cousin appears calm and relaxed. They have an excess of phlegm. It's important to note that this theory isn't scientific and doesn't have evidence to support it. However, for a long time, it was the main theory used to explain our differences until the 19th century when Sigmund Freud, an Austrian scientist, came along. Freud theory. Freud developed a model to explain personality without looking at the body or the stars. He focused on the human mind. He discovered that humans are not always aware of everything happening within them. In fact, a large part of our thoughts and feelings is unconscious, hidden from our conscious awareness. So, where do these thoughts come from? According to Freud, imagine the mind as an iceberg. The top 10% of the iceberg is what you see above the water, representing the thoughts and actions you're aware of. Everything else is submerged beneath the water, representing the unconscious mind. Freud believed that conflicts between our immediate desires, known as the ID, and the moral teachings we receive from our family, society, and religion, known as the superego, shape our personalities. The ID is where our desires reside. It wants instant gratification. For example, while sitting in a boring lecture, you might imagine a delicious burger sandwich. The ID whispers to you saying, "Hey, let's skip this lecture and go enjoy that sandwich." On the other hand, the superego, our conscience, disapproves and criticizes us, saying, "So, you want to escape the lecture that your parents worked hard for you to attend? They want you to succeed, and you want to eat a sandwich instead." This is when Uncle Ego steps in. He acts as a mediator and says, "It's okay, my dear ID. Let's wait for half an hour until the lecture is over, and then we can go eat." Freud believed that the personality consists of the ID, ego, superego, as well as the anima and higher self, all existing together in harmony. None of them should dominate the others. However, when desire or the higher self gains control, problems can arise. If desire dominates, it forms a personality that always seeks immediate pleasure, sometimes disregarding others and society. In extreme cases, it can even lead to criminal or psychopathic behavior. On the other hand, if the superego dominates, it creates a disciplined and morally committed person, but at the cost of their own happiness. They may constantly feel guilt and strive for superiority. So, according to Freud, the differences in people's personalities depend on who is in control. If the ID is dominant, you might be carefree and driven by pleasure. But if the superego is dominant, you might be focused on rules and constantly feel guilty. Finding the right balance between these aspects is important. Some people found Freud's ideas logical and scientific, while others criticized him for not being scientific enough. Science is something you can experiment with and measure. But here you come and say mountains, glaciers, ID, ego, and superego. Sorry, it seems like you've eaten too much before going to sleep. Most people who see it this way are supporters of the heart school or the behaviorist school. Behaviorist theory. The behaviorist theory is all about studying our actions and behaviors to understand our personalities. These theorists didn't pay attention to things that couldn't be measured or tested, like astrology or tarot cards. They believed that our environment plays the most important role in shaping who we are. According to them, if we're rewarded for a certain behavior, we're likely to do it again and make it a habit. On the other hand, if we're punished for a behavior, we'll stop doing it, and it won't be part of our personality anymore. They thought that with the right rewards and punishments, anyone could learn anything. But here's the thing. It's not that simple. If it were, you and your brother, growing up in the same environment, would be exactly the same. But that's not true. You have qualities he doesn't, and he has qualities you don't. This means that the environment alone can't shape our personalities. It's just like the biological school of thought, which believed that genes, not the environment, determine our personalities. Twin theory. Because of this difference in thinking, the behaviorists and biologists were always at odds with each other. Biologists found twins to be the perfect test subjects. Not just any twins, but ones who were separated after birth and raised in different environments. This helped them separate the influence of genes from the environment. Imagine having two individuals with the same genes but growing up in different environments. You'd expect them to have different personalities, right? Well, that's what happened. Even though they were almost identical genetically, they had personal traits that were different from each other. This meant that the environment does play a role in shaping our personalities, but it's not the only factor. One fascinating study focused on twins who were raised apart. Between 1979 and 1990, scientists followed 100 such twins. The surprising discovery was that the personalities of these separated twins were just as similar as those of twins who grew up together. Let me give you an example. There were two twins named James Bringer and Jim Lewis. They were separated at birth and didn't meet until they were 35 years old. When they finally met, they discovered that they had the same profession, like the same brand of cigarettes, and even owned the same car model. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Both of them got married multiple times, and each time their first wives were named Linda, and their second wives were named Betty. They even named their first sons James, and they both had a dog named 2A. It's like their lives were identical. So, it became clear that genes play a significant role in shaping our personalities. Epigenetic influence theory. In recent years, a new science called epigenetics has emerged. It explains why identical twins can have different personalities. Epigenetics is about changes in the way genes affect our bodies without altering the DNA itself. These changes can be influenced by the environment and our life choices. In fact, some of these changes can be passed down from one generation to the next. So, it's not just genes or the environment alone that determines our personalities. It's a complex interaction between the two. Genes provide a foundation, but the environment and our experiences shape how those genes express themselves. It's like a unique blend that makes each of us who we are. Big Five theory. The Big Five theory, developed by Jordan Peterson, aimed to describe human qualities. Initially, there were around 4,500 qualities, which was too many. So, scientists worked to narrow them down to just 5 qualities called the Big Five. These qualities are openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. Openness refers to how open a person is to new experiences. Conscientiousness relates to being organized and planning things in advance. Extroversion is about being social and enjoying the company of others. Agreeableness means being kind and empathetic. Neuroticism reflects negative emotions and how easily one gets upset or anxious. These qualities exist in everyone but in different proportions, ranging from 0 to 100. For example, someone who scores 100 in openness is always eager to try new things and explore different places. On the other hand, a person with 0 openness prefers routine and is more closed-minded. Each person has a mix of positive and negative qualities. If someone has 100% conscientiousness, they are highly organized and never miss anything. However, if someone has 0 conscientiousness, they may be less disciplined and lack planning. Similarly, 100% agreeableness means being caring and helpful, while 0% agreeableness suggests a lack of concern for others. If someone scores 100 in extroversion, they are outgoing and enjoy meeting new people, but 0% means being introverted and less sociable. Neuroticism relates to moodiness and anxiety. High neuroticism means being easily stressed and tense, while low neuroticism indicates emotional stability and a calm nature. It's important to note that humans are not caricatures, and we don't possess traits at extremes of 100% or 0%. Our personalities are defined by the varying levels of these traits. For instance, if you enjoy trying new things and dislike studying or working all the time, you may have a high level of openness and a low level of conscientiousness. Your cousin or someone else may have a different balance, such as low openness and high conscientiousness. Understanding these traits helps you know yourself better and identify your strengths and weaknesses. There are no inherently positive or negative qualities. Some people may be smart and hardworking, while others excel in building relationships. Each of us has a unique combination of traits that can be effectively utilized in different situations. Conclusion. In the end, it is clear that our personalities are shaped by a complex interplay of genetic and environmental factors. Understanding and embracing this complexity can enhance our self-awareness and appreciation of the unique blend that makes each individual who they are.